Welcome to the Holistic Career Change Podcast. Spoiler alert, we don't discuss conventional, linear, boring career change here. This is the place where we talk about finding an aligned career path that feels like an extension of who you are, where you get paid for being yourself. Forget personality quizzes, soul-crushing scrolling on job sites, and breaking your brain trying to find your why. Join me and many other career changers who've changed their career holistically by first defining who they are at their core and then using this blueprint to design a fulfilling career or business. We use the mind-body-soul approach, and we take into consideration the complexity and multidimensionality of all that you are and want to represent in the world. This is where purpose-led careers are born and built. I'm your host, Vilma Oseita. Let's go. Hello, my friends and lovers. It's been a while, hasn't it? I thought as I come back to recording episodes more regularly, I'd love to share with you about something that I tend to hear quite a lot from new career changers and my clients who say they're building new businesses or they're transitioning into a completely new industry. So what happens so often, and I thought it was like a perfect comeback episode as well, is that when we sort of find or identify this direction, we start high, we're excited, we're thrilled, we feel like we can move mountains, and then life happens. We always say life is lifing, it will never stop lifing. The universe will never stop testing how convicted, how ready, how devoted we are to this aligned path. And what happens when life starts to life, we often will lose momentum and motivation and sometimes our focus. And then as a result, there's going to be guilt and shame and overwhelm and dysregulation that will decide to join the party. And before we know it, we start feeling like we're back to square one with our efforts, even though it's not objectively true. And we can always look at all of the things that you've done and achieved and invested in. Our brain will tell us that we're basically a loser and we're starting from scratch. Okay, raise your hand if you ever experienced this. I'm raising both of mine right now. And, it's such a human experience and it's very healthy, actually. And today, I really want to normalize it for you and also offer you some practical, tangible ideas and hacks and solutions on how to get unstuck and how to get realigned when you feel like you've fallen back. As per usual, I'm going to touch a little bit about the psychology of it, the reason why that happens, and also I'm going to talk about how to solve for that, or my favorite ways to actually get unstuck in a way that feels enjoyable and it doesn't feel like you need to push and try to be perfect and try to be militant about your to-do items, about your commitment. Okay, so first of all, if you, just like many of your fellow career changers and business owners, feel like life has been taken over and you've been slipping and sliding back to your old habits and patterns, hear me out. You are not failing. You're not lazy. You will not have to start from scratch, and your previous efforts are not null and void. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I know it may not feel like that, but hear me out. Stay with me on this one. The first thing that I want us to do, that I want us to focus on right now, as you're listening to this episode, is removing all of the shame and all of the guilt for having, quote unquote, dropped the ball. I know many of you are doing it to yourself. There is self-shaming. There's feeling disappointed in yourself. There's questioning if this will ever work, and continuing to spin this very heavy narrative around what happened, which then drags you down even more and makes it near impossible to get back into the saddle. Right? You've been in that spiral. So many of you have been living in that spiral. So the first step is always, always, always and forever taking those deep breaths and reminding yourself you have been doing your best, even if it doesn't feel like it. Nothing has gone wrong. You don't need to blame yourself You don't need to get frustrated because it already happened. It's done. And we can't change what has happened. We can't. There's no need to worry about it. It's done. All we can do is honor it and accept it. And that acceptance of what is, that is the biggest and sometimes the hardest lesson for so many of us. Because we keep on wanting and striving and pushing against our reality just to find maybe a few months in that we're exactly at the same spot. We're just running in circles with no results to show for it, right? And that's usually because we, again, weave these elaborate stories and attach meanings to certain seasons of our lives, to certain level of performance. Often we make ourselves the villain in the story, which again just prolongs the feeling of stuckness. So I want you to now pause what you're doing, and if you need to, repeat after me or really take it in. Nothing has gone wrong. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing my best with what I have, and that's all I can do. I'm not wrong. I'm not lazy for falling back. And I accept where I currently am. I accept where I am today. It is what it is, and I'm choosing to be present for it. I may not like it, but I'm choosing to be present for it. I welcome it. I'm here. Really, really sit with this and feel it and talk to yourself longer like this if you need to. And notice how your whole body relaxes into acceptance and surrender of these current circumstances. Really, really feel it. Stay with yourself until you feel that release, because there's so much healing in letting go of control and accepting the now. With all of its perceived flaws and circumstances that you may not like or push against it. Really sit in acceptance, true acceptance. Place your hands on your heart and sit there, talk to yourself until you feel your body relax into the acceptance of what is. And do not skip this step. Do not skip it. It feels like woo-woo, kind of like, well, I don't have time for this. Tell me what to do. But trust me, this is probably the most important step. Because without it, no strategies, no tips, no hacks will stick. Sit in it until you feel the relief, okay? That's where I would start with that. So that's the somatics in the nervous system. If we don't address that first and we do not address the body, there's no need to even talk about the hacks, like I said, and the strategies, because you may try it for half a day and you'll be back to how you felt, the day before. Okay, what I also want to do, and let me quickly explain why this sort of regression, if you will, is very common and actually healthy when we're moving into new uncharted territories like career change or starting a business. This is something that, again, not many people talk about, normalizing why that happens. And it has little to do with you perhaps needing to get more discipline or you needing to focus better. This is actually your brain doing exactly what it was built to do. That oldest wiring has only one job: safety. Okay? It will be tracking danger constantly, and it will default you back to your familiar habits because those habits have kept you alive this long. And yes, even the same habits that are draining the life out of you. Like some of you will regress back to saying, oh, my career is not that bad. Maybe I should stick with it. That's exactly what's happening. It's familiar. Familiar is safe. Okay? And any type of change, as we talked about so much on this podcast, will read as risk to that primal part of your brain. Full stop. There's no way around it. Okay? And that goal-directed behavior, this sort of deliberate, intentional, hey, let me build something new. Hey, let me transition. It will run through your prefrontal cortex. But your habits, your daily habits and patterns will run through a different system entirely. And the two are usually constantly competing for control over that same action. Okay? And then you throw stress and exhaustion into the mix, and your nervous system drops straight into survival mode. You know that. So many of you are living in it. And in survival mode, we're not weighing our options. We're just trying to get through the moment. We're just trying to literally survive. Okay, and old patterns will always win then, because that is the path of least resistance. When we're in survival, we are conserving energy. Okay, and then on top of that, if that was not alone, that mechanism is lethal. If that was not enough, there's also the whole identity piece that many of you are in the process of changing, which is, I think, honestly, the juiciest part of it all. And there's so much research that's been done on habit formation, and it's all pretty singular and clear. We will stick with a new behavior when it actually matches who we believe that we are and not what we are trying to do. That's why I preach and ask all of you to do belief work and thought work. I have a mini course about it. Career Mindset Reset, which is all about building this new identity. Because if you keep on telling yourself, say, I'm trying to build a new business, or I'm trying to change careers, that will keep you stuck in trying. That's not your identity. However, I'm a business owner, that will rewire, and that will allow you for much different follow-through, much more committed follow-through. And I will say this, in career change specifically, there's a whole in-between stage where you are disengaging already from your old identity or old career without having fully released it. By the way, you have not fully released it yet, but you're also at the same time stepping into the new one without having fully claimed it yet either. You are in between. And that messy middle where you feel like you're neither version of yourself, that's the actual mechanism of becoming someone new. And the symptoms of this very transition of becoming is the exact flip-flopping in your commitment and action that you are experiencing right now. So do you see why this kind of regression, taking one step further and in front of you and taking 2 steps back, is a healthy, normal reaction? Nothing has gone wrong, but many of you overstay in this stuckness. That's why I felt it was so important to record this episode. The goal here is to notice it, recognize it for what it is, accept it like we did at the beginning of the episode, and not get stuck in it. Okay? So, now that we found some relief and acceptance and understood why it's happening, and how this is actually perfectly normal, healthy reaction for many of us, let me share some of my favorite practical hacks and ways to get out of it. Okay. And if you are anything like many of my clients that I have the privilege to support, you probably are one of those people who have a list of 1,000,001 things that need to be done on your list. And that list probably just keeps on growing every passing day. So that is also adding to your stress and anxiety and that feeling of being behind, okay? And looking at that list, or maybe many of these lists, because you probably have those lists everywhere, or napkins on your journal, on your calendar, on your notes folder on your phone. You probably have them everywhere. Looking at it, it's not going to make you feel motivated to get started. It's just going to overwhelm you, okay? So in order to solve for that, for the fact when we removed all of that negative narrative that you've been spinning, that you're behind or lazy or stupid or that it won't work, when we sit in the acceptance of what is, when we normalize that this is a healthy reaction, here's what I want you to start doing as a step one. And maybe that's not very sort of conventional or orthodox way to go about it, but I'm very passionate about this and I think that it works. Okay, so this is where I would start with step one, okay? Number one, what I want you to do is look at some of the tasks that you've been avoiding or procrastinating on. I know that you have all those lists, like I said, and choose 1 to 3 tasks that feel like the least resistance to you right now. For example, perhaps you're starting a business, right? And a lot of for the new business owners, their list could look like, oh, start a YouTube channel and film a video, film a TikTok, finish a website, start posting on Threads, design a logo, and the list goes on. So what I want you to do, and this is where that's why we calm down first, because I want you to tune into the body, look at that list and feel out which of the tasks feel the sparkliest, the easiest, and the most fun right now. Easy, sparkly, fun. Perhaps it's playing with the logo and posting one thread today, okay? Then your only task is to choose those few sparkly tasks that you don't mind committing to and completing them in the coming couple of days. That's all. That's all that you need to do. Choose least resistance that feels sparkly and maybe even fun for you, and just complete them. Even if your brain will try to tell you that the other things are much more important and this is a waste of time, ignore your gremlins completely and let yourself play and explore. Okay? So all you do the first week is focus on the tasks that are fun, that are light compared to the others, and perhaps that bring you some joy. And don't let any scary big tasks through this week. That's not allowed, okay? It's only fun this week. Okay, and here's, by the way, a little trick that will make those tasks even easier to actually start, which is implementation intentions. That's one of the coaching strategies that we use. So instead of saying, oh, I'll post threads today or post on threads today, you want to get hyper specific. Like, when I finish my morning coffee, I'm going to write one thread post. Teach your brain how to think like that, right? The when post, because that's what is going to make it easier for you to commit it and actually get it done. And that simple if-then formula will then boost follow-through by a huge margin, because there are so many studies that have been made across thousands of people. Your brain doesn't have to then decide in the moment because the decision is already made. Work with your brain. So you are just executing. You're not making any decisions anymore. And for those bigger, scarier tasks, you are deliberately not touching them this week, but you don't need to ignore them completely. Just make a plan for them, okay? Not to do them, but plan them. When, where, how. The same if-then formula. Because again, there's so much research that's been done, and I've seen that with my clients through and through, and even myself. If we have these unfinished tasks, they will create this low-grade mental static, if you will, and they will be just tugging at our attention and eating our energy in the background. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But here's this relief. Simply making this concrete plan will quiet the noise or completely remove it. In my case, it completely removes the noise because I'm like, well, it's planned on Tuesday afternoon next week. Even before I do one thing, even before I touch it. So write it down, say Tuesday at 10 a.m., I'll open the business account and then let it go. Okay? So once that's week one, and once you do those sparkly tasks week, what you'll notice is that you'll start feeling more in the flow. You'll start feeling more in the momentum, and your energy and excitement hopefully will start coming back. And if you are not feeling exciting, you'll definitely start feeling more neutral about it. And you may start getting new ideas and even inspiration for whatever this transition that you are working on. So then week two, each day, if you're dedicating time to this transition daily, which I highly recommend, I want you to add one small task to that list that perhaps isn't as enjoyable yet, but you know is important. Okay, so we're not doing that in week one, we're doing that in week two. For example, maybe creating a carousel on Instagram that you've perhaps been avoiding. You know it's important, but you're like, I don't know what to say. What will people laugh at me? All of those gremlins, right? Or opening a business account, like I said. Anything that feels a little bit overwhelming, what we're going to do, we're going to break it down into smaller chunks and add it to the least resistance tasks for the week. So what will happen then, you will start with the least resistant task, you will get into the flow, and then you'll start feeling more accomplished by seeing the results of getting those more overwhelming tasks off your list, okay? And also I want to share with you a trick that I love that will also make layering even smoother for you. It's called temptation bundling, okay? So for example, only let yourself listen to, say, that track, that song, that album, that podcast that you're obsessed with, or that playlist while you're doing the task that you've been avoiding. Okay. For example, there is a very interesting research I read recently which found that people went to the gym over 50% more often when they only allowed themselves to listen to that addictive audiobook there. Isn't that wild? Like, you tell yourself, I will only listen to that romantasy, which is my case, if I go to the gym. So when you pair that thing with that boring thing with the thing you actually want, suddenly the boring thing isn't so boring anymore and you're much more inclined to actually get it done. Give yourself that permission. I'm only going to burn that candle when I'm completing these business tasks that I'm avoiding. Whatever it is that brings you joy, bundle it like that, okay? And also environment. I talk about this a lot on this podcast. We underestimate environment. Because over 50% of what we do every day isn't even a decision, it's autopilot that is triggered by our surroundings. We're very reactive a lot of the times and we're running on autopilot. So if you want that new habit to stick, if you want to get back to the routine of career transition or building a business, make it easier for yourself. Make it easier to see and easier to start. So for example, leave the tab open. Set out the camera if you're going to be filming content in the morning, whatever it is, and make that old habit harder. Like log out, close the app, put it out of reach. Because our willpower is not always reliable, especially for us women as we go to these 4 different seasons in a month, but the environment is reliable. So create a system for yourself around you that actually supports you. I have a client who recently told me that, we kind of worked on her introducing some mindfulness habits, for example, meditating in the morning or doing energy clearing in the evening. And what she said that in the morning, she used to wake up and just scroll on her phone, like on Instagram. And what she does now, in the evening before going to bed, she will open the meditation app on her phone and will just close the screen. So when she wakes up, the first thing she sees when she's opening up her phone is the meditation app. So then she removes temptation to scroll. She was like, oh, that's right, I need to meditate. And she does. And it really is impacting her so beautifully, impacting her positively, her mental health, like first thing in the morning. Okay, cool. So you start with least resistance, then you add some layering and temptation bundling, if you will. And then week 3, once you're layering in the slightly less fun tasks, the rule that will protect the whole thing so that you do not fall back into the old habits is do not over plan. Plan 1 to 3 tasks a day, max. Finish before you're tired. Give yourself plenty of time to rest, to play, to connect off work and off the business tasks completely. Because if you don't do this, you'll find yourself burnt out much quicker than you like to admit to yourself. Okay, so finish those tasks, finish them well, under plan, over deliver, and then move into the next day. Because 3 tasks completed today is much better than 0 completed with a bunch of overwhelm and guilt and shame. Or even 1 task completed today is going to let you win because each task that you complete compounds. I was telling that to my client the other day. Is kind of think about investing as compound interest. You showing up daily, even if it's less than you think you should be doing, is going to compound in the future. And you'll see that in your career transition efforts and in your business. Okay. So your 3 steps become, number 1, least resistance. Pick 1 to 3 sparkly, easy tasks. Ignore the scary ones completely for the first week. Add in layering. Add 1 less fun but important task of the day, broken into small chunks once your momentum is back. And then all you need to do is underplan and over deliver. Like I said, cap it to 1 to 3 tasks a day. Stop before you're tired. Protect your rest, and you will burn. And trust me, you'll see the results. I do that all the time myself, by the way. When I feel like in summers, maybe I'm a little bit slower. You guys know I have summer blues. I just take my time with things. And sometimes I do feel like, I still show up for my clients and do my coaching work, but I do feel like all the other extracurricular activities, I'm just much more prone to falling off my habits of actually getting it completed. And I literally do this every time. Every time I'll be like, okay, as opposed to being type A, overachiever who wants to complete everything in 5 minutes yesterday, how about I start with joy? How about I start with least resistance? How about I seduce myself into getting back into my older habits that I feel like I perhaps lost because I'm traveling or I'm away, I'm spending much more time with friends and so on. And the last thing that I will say, that's the most important of all, you will slip. You will slip. Because again, like I said at the beginning of the episode, that's life. That's normal. That's a healthy reaction. But when you slip, when you miss a few days or weeks, or the old habit will creep back in, do not spiral into self-punishment and self-shame. I know it's easier said than done, but again, I explained to you why it's so important. Self-compassion will get you back on track faster than self-criticism ever will. Self-compassion is the most productive thing you can do for yourself, for this new career, and for your business. Self-compassion. Beating yourself up doesn't build discipline. It adds shame on top of the stall and the stuckness that you're in already. So notice it, be kind about it, and just start again. Start fresh and be like, okay, new chapter, me coming back to it. Nothing has gone wrong. And that is not you like being soft or being lazy again. That's you working with your nervous system instead of against it. You guys, that's the secret of any sustainable long-term success. Working with your nervous system, working with the body, working with your intuition. Okay, so my hope is that you felt seen by this episode, that you found this regulating and hopefully helpful. Let me know when you're implementing these strategies, how it's working for you. And do come back to this episode every time you feel like you've gotten distracted or you find it hard to recommit to your goals and to your dreams and to new amazing careers that so many of you are building. And for now, I'm going to love you and leave you. Have the most magical week. Thank you for spending time with me today. If you enjoy this content, please make sure you subscribe to this podcast and leave a quick review to help us share the message of aligned work with the world. And if you'd like to learn more about how to find and transition into your very own purpose-led career or business that feels like getting paid for being yourself, make sure you check out the episode notes below. Have a wonderful week.